Hi everyone. Today we have a new topic altogether in our ISM program. So as you know that we are already working on our isms, right? Uh, the last time we did was existentialism and today we have got egalitarianism, right? Now what is egalitarianism? Do we know anything about it? Or even if I don't know whether I would be able to do the RC or not. So my thought process out here is to help you all with your learning, right, of these topics. Once you read these topics, what happens? It becomes easier for us if this kind of a topic or a related topic comes across in the paper, right? So I'll be carrying, like, it would be a huge list for you all where you can actually come across and go across with different types of isms. Then again, once we are finished with ism, I would come across with a new topic. So it's going to be a long journey. It's going to be a very fruitful journey for all of us, right? So without any further ado, I'm going to start with the RC today, right? Okay. So let's see. It's a good size of RC we have. Egalitarianism, often celebrated as the doctrine. So, what is doctrine? See, you can see like these words, they have been used again and again, right? These words are coming across again and again. So, once you have gone through the same word, once you have experienced the same word again and again, what really happens? It becomes easier, right? It becomes quite smooth for you. So, every time doctrine would come across, you would know that it is actually talking about something to do with what? Some kind of philosophy, some kind of ideology or belief, a dogma, right? So we know what is this, okay? So this is a belief or it is a dogma, okay? That all individuals deserve equal rights. Wow, this is a nice thing. So egalitarianism actually talks about something to do with what? Equal rights, fine? And it's a belief, right? And opportunities. So equal rights and opportunities is deceptively simple in definition. See how, the complexity of words, how it acts, right? A single word changes the whole thought process. See what it says? Is deceptively simple in definition, but notoriously complex in practice, right? So, okay, fine. So, what is deceptive? When do we use deceptive? How do we use deceptive? Yeah, he. Don't you think so that it comes across from a word like deceived or something like that, right? So when someone is deceived, so the person is cheated or something that misleads us. So we can use mislead out here, right? Okay. So deceptively means something which is misleading us, right? Simple. So it seems simple, but it is just a show. Okay, it's just a fake thing, right? They are just showing it that it is easy in definition, but notoriously complex in practice. So, which means like when I actually use it, when I actually practice it, it is not that simple, right? What is notoriously? Also called as infamous. But does that mean that it is not famous? No, definitely not. Infamous also means that it is famous, but what for? For all the wrong reasons, right? Famous for all the wrong reasons. Easy. So when I'm reading, I'm trying to do multiple tasks right now, right? I'm trying to catch hold of all the vocabulary. I'm trying to catch hold of the sentence structures, grammar, everything, right? Expressions. So everything is working for me. So that's why an RC a day will help you crack IPMAT. That is for sure. Famous for all the wrong reasons, right? Okay, next. While the principle appears universally desirable, why is it universally desirable? Because everyone wants equality, right? Its interpretations diverge across cultures. What is diverge? So, diverge is something which talks about variety, variations, right? Okay. So, how people interpret, how do people understand this? So, they are like very. Some people would take egalitarianism as something else. Someone would take it as something else. They have every people have a different utility usage or different definition of the word, right? Of the belief. Its interpretations diverge across cultures, so different cultures would have different meanings for that. Political ideologies and historical movements, right? So even political ideologies, so where all it is different culture, political ideologies, and historical movements, right? To some, egalitarianism demands the leveling of material inequalities. Okay, so this is giving us one example. They are telling us what happens for some people. Leveling of material inequalities. What is material? Material or leveling? So leveling means something at the same level, right? So equality again, right? Balance, okay. Uh, and material inequalities. Material means what? The tangible assets, okay. So we can say material is basically some kind of thing, okay, some kind of asset, any, right? Majorly, this is something which is physical, right? Gold, silver, jewelry, car, house, all these things. This would come under material inequalities, right? Through redistribution. So they want that equality should be such that all the extra things, no one should be on top, right? Everyone should be equal. So they are saying like it should be redistributed. While to others, it merely insists on equality of opportunity. So some people say like, no, we just need opportunity. We don't need gold, silver, and everything. Not of outcome. So they don't know what would be the outcome of the opportunity that they get, but they are sure that or what is it? Not exactly sure. They really want the opportunity to be the same, right? Okay. This tension between ideal and execution, ideal, the theory, execution, the practice, right, has ensured that egalitarianism remains as contested as it is admired. So, contested as it is admired, which means like there's a big gap right now. We are not very sure egalitarianism, how does it work, right? So, on one hand, there are people who would actually like it, they would say, like, yes, this is the next thing. And there would be people who would actually say they are contesting it, which means they are going against it. They are arguing against it, right? Fine. So this is the first paragraph. Second paragraph. Philosophers have long debated whether egalitarianism is compatible with human diversity. So, which means like so many philosophers, but the debate is same. What is that? Whether egalitarianism is compatible. What is compatible? It is something to do with well suited. Okay, so we'll write well suited, well matched, right? Suited with human diversity. See, diversity, all those people who do not know what is diversity, look at this part. Diverge, diversity, right? Right? They look around the same. So this one is again talking about what? Variation, some kind of variation. Human variation, different culture, different political background, different history, everything, right? Variation. Okay. Critics argue, critics, which means they are the people who are against the idea, right? That attempts to impose strict equality risk. So they are saying like, if you are trying to impose force upon them, right? Strict equality risk. Fine. So if we try to give across strict reality, it risk. Okay, what would it risk? Erasing individuality and excellence, right? So what would happen? The individuality, the individual level of a person, the freedom of a person, his strength and everything, what would happen to that? It would get erased, it would be deleted, right? And excellence. Breeding means what? Breeding is something like giving birth to something, right? What is it giving birth to? Mediocrity. What is mediocrity? Mediocrity is something like average, right? So people would become average rather than justice. So there would be no justice out there. Everything would become mediocre, right? Proponents, so of course, proponents are the ones who are for the motion, which means they are supporters, they advocate what? egalitarianism, right? Okay. However, maintain that true individuality cannot flourish in society plagued by entrenched hierarchies. Okay, big sentence, always try to read in clusters, always try to read small parts first. However, maintain. So as soon as I saw that there is however written out here, I would understand that this sentence has to be in support because the previous sentence was in a negative tone. Maintain that true individuality cannot flourish. So individuality can only flourish, grow, right, blossom in societies plagued by entrenched hierarchies. Okay, plagued by, what does it mean? Plagued by, affected by, right, infected by, some kind of diseased, right? So it is a negative word, of course. By entrenched. What is entrenched? So they used to be trenches, right? They used to dig trenches out there, and it is in that, which means what? It is almost like something which is set. It is already set, cannot be moved, right? Set hierarchies, entrenched hierarchies of class. Entrenched hierarchies of class, which means like everything that has been coming across from a long time, right? And it has stayed out there and it is not changing at all, right? Of class, gender, or race. So many places you see like whatever the hierarchy that has been set, the stereotypes, it is there. It is never going to go away from there, right? And that is where he says, proponent says, that true individuality, of course, cannot flourish in such cases, right? And that is why the equality has to go across because the previous dogmas have to be removed. From Rousseau's vision of natural equality corrupted by civilization, so Rousseau has, he's a French philosopher, and he talks about what vision of natural equality corrupted by civilization, right? So he says that the equality which was natural to us has actually been corrupted. Corrupted means destroyed, disrupted, disordered, something unorganized, fine, has been made chaotic, something like that, by civilization. So people themselves have done this. To Rawls, another guy, another philosopher, veil of ignorance, which means like people are seeing what is happening around them, they know about the issues, and yet what is it? They are ignorant towards it, right? Framework egalitarianism has been reimagined as both an aspiration and a corrective to systemic imbalances, right? So, on one hand, egalitarianism, so after going through the thoughts of Rousseau and Rawls, it actually is seen, what is seen? Egalitarianism has been seen as what? As an aspiration. So, it is going to inspire people. People would want to get into desire for egalitarianism, right? And a corrective to, so it would be a remedy, it would be a kind of help for systemic imbalances, right? So see, it's an easy thought process. Second paragraph we are done with. Third, let's see. In modern democracies, so now it is talking about what is happening in the modern world. Egalitarianism is frequently invoked in policy debates. Fine. Invoked. What does it mean, invoked? Invoked, right? So revoked goes back, invoked goes in, right? Is, so it is frequently brought. So we can say brought up or brought in, something like that, right? In policy debate. So whenever there is a policy debate, people would definitely talk about egalitarianism. Why is it that? Because everyone would want equality out there, right? From progressive taxation. Progressive means something which is continuation, right? Going on and on. Continuous. Or we can also say, because progressive is always upside as well. So we can also say increasing, right? Growing, increasing. Okay, fine. From progressive taxation to universal healthcare, yet the rhetoric often masks selective application. So what is rhetoric out here? Rhetoric out here, I would say, the elegant statement or the elegant expression, right? Expression, first thing, it is an expression, but what kind of expression? So it's a elegant one, eloquent, elegant, right? I'll write down eloquent as well. Eloquent expression. But always remember, so rhetoric is definitely elegant, but then again, somehow it is not true to his words, right? So somehow it simply is a show off, right? It is just said but never meant, or we don't, it is exaggerated, we can also say that, right? Okay. Often masks selective application. What does it mean, masks? So if I wear a mask, what would I do? I would hide behind that. So mask means it disguises, or I can say hides selective application. So what does it mean? That of course it is there, but then again it is only for certain selective applications, not everywhere. It's not 100% egalitarianism everywhere, right? Governments may champion egalitarian principles. Champion means what out here? So champion out here is something to do with advocate. In other words, promote. So on one hand, government is actually saying that yes, egalitarianism, the best thing, right? Egalitarian principles. So they are actually forwarding, they are promoting, right? What are they promoting? Uh, Egalitarian principles, right? While simultaneously tolerating structural inequalities in education. So, but on the other hand, what are they doing simultaneously, right? Going parallel. They are tolerating structural inequalities in education, representation, or wealth distribution. So, what is this they are doing? They are actually making people tolerate. They are making people tolerant about what is happening, right? That there are structural inequalities, right? Where in education, in representation of whatever the thoughts are, okay, or the gender representation, caste representation, whatever it is, or wealth distribution, fine. So it's just, so what are they trying to say? That again the same thing, the ideals are there, we are always talking about the ideals, but the ideals are never kept, right? They are not acted upon. Good. Okay, this paradox, the contrast, the irony, reveals that egalitarianism, despite its moral appeal, so morally it is appealing, right? You would definitely want egalitarianism, or at least you would always talk about it, can be politically expedient, right? So, what is it? It can be actually politically advantageous. Advantageous, right? Deployed as a banner more than a blueprint, which means it is not actually a strategy or a structure. Fine. What do we do? What does a banner do? What does a banner do? A banner actually showcase the thing. So banner. So it's almost like it's just a promotion. We are just talking about it. We are just showing it off, right? We use it for promotion, right? Marketing gimmick. So it's almost like a gimmick. Promotion more than blueprint. Blueprint, the structure, which should be used, which has to be used, the strategy, right? Okay, so the third paragraph again. The future of egalitarianism may hinge not on rigid enforcement of equality. May hinge. What does it mean? May hinge. Let's read this again. The future of egalitarianism may hinge not on rigid enforcement of equality. Okay, so hinge is more of towards something to do with working upon, right? The future of may. Okay, we can also say depend, rely on, right? Rely not on rigid enforcement, rigid, forceful, again, firm enforcement of equality. So they are saying this is basically the idea of the author, right? This part, author is telling us. So he's saying like it should not be something to do with forceful enforcement of equality, right? But on cultivating fairness. So rather, we should cultivate, grow, blossom, flourish what? Fairness, justice, right? As societies grapple, what is grapple? Nice word. It is wrestle. Basically, it comes across from wrestling, right? But on the other hand, we'll use it as what the word is. We can also say struggle, right? So people are struggling. As societies struggle or grapple with technological disruptions, widening economic gaps. So there are so many problems in our life, right? There is technological disruption. What is disruption out here? So it is basically some kind of disorder, unorganized things are unorganized, right? Some countries or some people are technologically they are like stronger, while the others are quite low ground, right? So it is not completely equal, yeah. Widening economic gaps and cultural pluralism. What is pluralism? Again, it is talking about variety, right? Different kind of people, different kind of cultures coming together. The challenge lies in balancing respect for difference with the pursuit of justice. So, what is the challenge in front of egalitarianism? It is that it has to balance the respect. So, everyone has to get the equal respect for difference. Difference as in the differences that we have, right? We are different, you are different, they are different. So, everyone have their differences. There are differences, but that difference has to be respected with the pursuit of justice, and that it has to be fair, which means it has to cover the justice segment as well. Egalitarianism then is less a final destination. So in that case, egalitarianism cannot be the last point. Okay, it cannot be, we can never say that we have achieved egalitarianism, right? Why? Because that point would never come to us. Than an evolving conversation. What does it mean? It is more of an evolving conversation. Evolving, something which is going on, and every time it is shaping up, right? An ethical compass, the guide, okay, that guides societies to continually renegotiate. So people would always be renegotiating, always be working upon. Today they have made a policy, tomorrow they would try to make it better. They would try to fit in everyone in that so that it equally can be used by everyone, right? The boundaries between sameness and difference, okay? So renegotiate the boundaries between sameness and different, right? So this is the whole passage. I believe you have understood. So now we understand egalitarianism is actually talking about something to do with what? Equality. But then again, there are plenty of pros and cons, plenty of conflict in how the theory is and how it is to be practiced. Fine. Okay. So this is what it is. The summary, the first one that we read, the summary was egalitarianism sounds simple, but it is complex with competing interpretations. Okay, competing interpretations different. On one hand, people would want for opportunity, but then there are some people who would not want the outcome as well. Cluster. Cluster reading, focus on definition, whatever the definition was given across. Then what is the tension and what is the contested nature? What is the contested nature was what? That it seems, what is it? Its interpretation diverge among culture. Yeah, this is the principle appears universally desirable. Okay. To some, egalitarianism demands the leveling of material inequalities, while to others it merely insists on equality of opportunity, not to outcome. Fine. So this is like very different, right? People are contesting over it, right? And that's why there is the tension. The tension between ideal and execution has ensured that egalitarianism remains as contested. So, contested nature, easy as that. Keywords were egalitarianism, equal rights, opportunity, redistribution, and contested. Fine. What I'm doing, why am I doing this again and again, is because I want to keep it in your eyes. Because in some days we are not going to use this anymore, and you would be, you would have gone through this again and again and so many times that it would become a habit of yours to find the summary, cluster, and the keywords. And this is finally going to help you to read the passage quickly and get more answers, right? So it is going to help you with your time and accuracy. The second one paragraph would be philosophers disagree, right? There are people who are going against. Critics say equality erases individuality. Proponents, the opposite, supporters that is, argue it enables the real individuality. So historical thinkers offered varied frameworks. So different kind of frameworks are there. Cluster reading, debate, critics versus proponents and philosophers. Which were they? Rousseau and Rawls, right? Keywords: diversity, mediocrity, justice. Rousseau, Rawls, aspiration. Okay, easy. Next one. In this, egalitarianism is used in democratic policies, right? So they are saying it is used, but then again, there is a problem, but often selectively. So only in some cases, right? Creating paradoxes between ideals and practice. So that's why there is an irony. We say something, but we do something else, right? Cluster reading, modern policies, paradox, and expedient use. What was expedient use? Like they use it for their own advantages, right? Uh, Democracy, taxation, healthcare, paradox, expedient, rhetoric. So these are the keywords, right? Okay, the last one, the future and all that. The future, what is the summary? Lies in fairness and adaptability. So this is basically giving us like a kind of what should it be like, huh? It would most probably be author's opinion, right? Treating egalitarianism as an evolving compass rather than fixed quality, right? Future vision, fairness versus equality, evolving compass. Keywords, fairness, technology, pluralism, compass, and evolving, right? Good. So having done that, what we are going to do is we are going to try the questions, see do we make it out or not. Our thought process would be that because we have given a good reading in this, then we should not be going across with the what? With the regression part, right? So we will try not to go back to the paragraph again and again. Rather, we should try that as many questions we can do. What do we remember from that? Let's try this. Which of the following best capture the central theme of the passage? So this is talking about the central theme. Is it about death of egalitarianism? Definitely I can remove this because it is not saying so. Egalitarianism between ideal and reality. Yes, definitely we have, like throughout the passage we have actually talked about the same, that the ideals are good, but there is a reality to it, right? And they are different. So B part we can keep. Democracy's final promise. Now this is of course not, and it is only talking about just one what uh, one specific thought process, democracy. Fine. And egalitarianism, is it about democracy? Might be not, not necessarily. Even in a monarch, we might ask for equality, right? So, democracy's final promise, the politicians coming across and talking about the final promise does not work for me. Fairness as the new equality. Okay. This is not the central theme exactly, right? So, out of B and D, the better answer is not D, but the answer is B. When I say fairness as the new equality, so it is talking about that it is the only thing that is there, right? But that is the author's viewpoint where he says that yes, there should be cultivating. Yeah, he says that there has to be cultivation of fairness, but then again there are economic gaps and cultural pluralism and everything, right? So we have to look into a true meaning of egalitarianism. So therefore, fairness as the new equality is almost like we are just talking about fairness and not about anything else, right? So that's why it is quite narrow, and my answer would be a better answer would be B. Good. Let's go to the question number two. Question number two says, what is the author's tone in the passage? So is he celebrating anything? No, he's not. He's analytical, yes. Is he balanced? Yes, he's giving a pros and cons, both of them. Is he cynical? That is doubtful. No, definitely not. Is he passionate and persuasive? No, he's not passionate about anything, and neither he's persuading us into doing anything. So D part, C part, and A part do not work. So the best answer out here is B, right? So when you are practicing through these questions with me, the best deal would be you should go across and every time we have a question, you just pause the video, try for an answer, and then check with me whether they are right or wrong. Okay. Question 3. What is the function of paragraph 1? Paragraph 1. Okay, fine. This was basically the paragraph 1. Now you might need to skim it, right? As quickly as possible. Of a celebrated doctrine, okay, fine, deserve equal rights and is deceptively simple in differentiation but not orderly. See, okay, this is the part. This is the part. While the principle appears universally desirable, uh, interpretation diverge across culture. This is basically just talking about it. To some, egalitarianism demands the leveling of material, while to others. So this is basically talking about different things that it can do, right? So, what is the function of it? To offer historical examples of egalitarianism. Is it so? Is it talking about some historical moments? No, definitely not. It was just one part which was talking about it, right? Let's go to the second one. To define egalitarianism and highlight its internal tension. Yes, internal tension is definitely there. And what is it? It is also defining egalitarianism because it is talking about celebrated as the doctrine that all individuals deserve equal rights and opportunities. So this is definitely a definition. B part can be kept. C part, to critique modern politics of equality. No. To some, egalitarianism demand the leveling of material inequalities. No. It is just talking about the tension within egalitarianism. So C part is not the answer. A part is not the answer. Let's read D part. To resolve debates about egalitarianism. No, it never said that it is going to resolve the debates. It is just giving us the idea of what is happening in egalitarianism. So D part goes away. The answer which is preferred out here is B, right? Question number 4. Critics argue egalitarianism breeds mediocrity. Which of the following, if true, weakens this claim? So, the good thing is they have already given us the sentence. All you have to do is go against it. You need to see what can be said. So, first of all, in this case, you need to understand the sentence. Critics argue egalitarianism breeds mediocrity. Okay, so mediocrity is something to do with like average, right? Okay, so let's see what can weaken this claim. So it should not support it, right? It should go against it. Let's see. A part. Societies with more equality consistently produce high innovation rates. Societies with what? More equality consistently produce high innovation rates, right? If I say this, in that case, am I in support of egalitarianism or not? Because we are talking about equality. Yes, we are actually supporting, we are actually talking positive to it, right? So definitely critics argue egalitarianism breeds mediocrity. So this one is actually weakening because it is actually providing us with high rates of innovation. So if there is innovation, it cannot be mediocre, right? So yes, A part can be kept. Let's read the other one. Hierarchies are natural to human societies. Now this is actually, hierarchies are natural to human societies, which means like egalitarianism, this is actually going against it. So B part does not work for us. Go to C. Individual excellence depends solely on personal talent. Individual excellence depends solely on personal talent. Okay, personal talent, which means like a person does not need equality because he would be, he would have a personal talent. He is not ready, he does not need any opportunity or anything. If he has the talent, he would actually become excellent. No, not working. Economic competition is essential for progress. Again, this is actually going for the support of this thought process. So D part also goes away. The only option that is going against this, that is weakening the idea, is that societies with more equality. So if there is egalitarianism, they would actually get better results. Easy. Fifth, which inference can be drawn from the reference to Rousseau and Rawls? Now, in this case, what you can do is you can quickly get into the second paragraph, look at it, Rousseau's vision and Rawls' veil of ignorance, right? Okay, so what is it? Uh, what does it say? What can be the thought process? What do we understand from there? So it says like, which inference can be drawn from the reference to Rousseau and Rawls? Is it egalitarianism has only recently been theorized? Is it philosophical debate have given equalitarianism, sorry, egalitarianism multiple interpretations? Is it about that? Okay. Or is it about both philosophers reject the idea of equality? Now, that is something I can easily go across and cancel out. Rawls and Rousseau argued against redistribution. Is it so? No, nothing to do with that as well. Equality was being talked about, so therefore, definitely this was. Now we have got A and B. What is the inference we can draw out here? That is that it has only recently been theorized. Is that so? Or is it philosophical debates have given egalitarianism multiple interpretation? If you look at it, Rousseau had a different version and Rawls had a very different version, right? And which it clearly says that from this vision, to that framework, egalitarianism has been reimagined, which means egalitarianism had already been there. So definitely A part cannot be my answer. B is the right answer. Philosophical debates have given egalitarianism multiple interpretation. Some people would say call it as something else, and others would call it as something else, right? So B is the better answer. Sixth, what does the word expedient most nearly mean in the context? Is it convenient but possibly self serving, permanent and stable, morally upright, politically irrelevant? No, I think so. This is an easy question because expedient we talked about some kind of what advantageous, right? So politically irrelevant cannot be my answer. Morally upright. So the word comes across as moral, but we simply said that it was advantageous, not necessarily that it was ethical as well. So that's why this part goes away. Permanent and stable, we don't know whether it was stable or not. It was just advantageous. So B part goes away. Convenient is another word for what? Advantageous. If something is convenient for me, it is advantageous to me, right? Viable to me. But possibly self serving and can be, right? Because it was said what? It was called as political. है ना? Do you remember? So it was said as politically expedient, which means like the political people, the government, or whoever the authority is, they are using it for their own advantages. So that's why A part is the right answer. 7. What role does paragraph 3 play in the passage's structure? Oh, structure. So 1, 2, 3, third paragraph, in modern democracies and something something. It shows how egalitarianism succeed in modern policy. Does it succeed? Does it say so something like that? No, definitely not. It does not talk about how egalitarianism succeeds is not the part. B part, it exposes the gap between egalitarian rhetoric and practice. Okay, so the third paragraph, it exposes the gap between rhetoric and practice, right? Does it do so? Let's see. Yet the rhetoric often masks selective application. See, it is clearly mentioned out here, right? Okay, so I can keep B part. C part, it resolves earlier philosophical debates. It resolves nothing. There is no resolution in the whole thing, right? So C part goes away. It predicts the future of egalitarianism. No, it does not. It simply says that this paradox reveals that egalitarianism, despite its moral appeal, can be politically expedient, can be or something like that. So it definitely D part not working. So the answer is B. I believe it is good going for you people, right? Because you can really understand how these questions are to be done. And this practice, I guarantee you, I assure you that if you are true to yourself, true to your cause, true to your aspiration, and if you go through these kind of questions with me, it is going to work wonders for your marks, man. Right? The author implies that the future of egalitarianism lies in what? Okay. Abandoning equality altogether? No, of course not. Never talked about it. Enforcing rigid sameness? Was he actually saying that it was this is where it is? No, it is not. B part is wrong. Reconciling fairness with diversity. Definitely it has to be because fairness, they were always talking about how fairness is important. And on the other hand, in diversity, we would have various type of people out there, various type of cultures out there, but fairness has to be there, right? Only then we can come across and talk about all these things, right? So definitely C part can be kept. Next part, returning to Rousseau's model. No, it is not. Never talked about, never supported Rousseau's model or something like that. So D part goes away. So only answer is C. Good. Ninth, which best describes the structure of the passage? Is it presents an ideal, explains flaws, offers resolution? Tell me, did it actually provide us with a resolution? Yes, it did. If you read the last part, it actually says like may hinge not on rigid enforcement of equality but on cultivating and all that. So it was actually talking about the only way how egalitarianism can actually work. So that was the resolution. So I can keep it. B part says only draws conclusion. No, that was not the thought process. So B part goes away. C part repeats. No, it is not actually repeating. Moreover, author is giving his viewpoints how egalitarianism can work. So C part goes away. States a definition, ends abruptly. Definitely not. So D part goes away. The only answer which is possible is A. C. elimination is one of the best thing that can help you, and of course it is going to bring across the accuracy in your paper, right? There are so many questions that I'm telling you, and believe me when I say this, that there are so many students who actually they use the method of elimination alone to get their answers, and they are doing pretty good, right? So keep that in mind. Last question: which statement, if true, would strengthen the author's claim? Okay, so this one is basically strengthen, but then again, look at this question, the pattern. This time they are not giving us the author's claim in the fourth paragraph, which means that is something you need to work upon. You need to see what is the fourth paragraph is actually claiming. Okay, so if you look at it, the future of may not hinge on rigid. So this is basically talking about what is happening, what might happen as societies grapple with this, the challenge lies in balancing respect for difference with the pursuit of justice. Okay, fine. So this is basically the challenge. That is the claim. Okay, that is one part of the claim. And this same line has also been written: is less a final destination than an evolving conversation, an ethical compass that guides societies to continually renegotiate the boundaries between sameness and difference. So this is basically the author's claim, right? So keeping that in mind, let's see what happens. A part. Studies show societies focusing on fairness achieve greater stability than those enforcing rigid equality. So this is what they were saying. They said hinge not on rigid enforcement of equality, right? So, and if this is the claim, then this might actually help to strengthen it. Studies show societies focusing on fairness achieve greater stability than those enforcing rigid equality. Definitely, I can take that, right? B part. Egalitarianism has failed in every historical attempt of redistribution. This can never strengthen it. Diversity is incompatible with justice. This cannot be my answer because it does not strengthen. Governments rarely implement egalitarian policies. Okay, fine. If I say this, how can it strengthen the author's claim, right? So the author's claim can only be strengthened by A. Okay. So guys, I believe you have understood about this ism, egalitarianism, talking about equality and all. I'll meet you in the next class with a new ism. Till then, keep on practicing and all the best. Take care.